morning, Schlegel Villages, everybody. We're so happy to be here. We're recording live, which is awesome. Normally, I'm in my very professional soundproof booth known as my son's bedroom basement closet. So with a blanket over my head, and I know Evelyn does this from Erin Meadows with the help from the staff there, so it's lovely to be with you in person. So again, I'm Kathy Buckworth. This is Evelyn. We've been doing this for the past season and getting to know each other as well as all of the fabulous guests that we have on the show.
It's true. Hello, everyone.
So you are probably aware that the Green Bench was born out of the belief that our elders have so much insight, experience, and wisdom to offer. So in the beginning, these green benches were made available for older and younger generations to sit together and to connect. And this podcast is now an extension of that. Elder wisdom is about reminding people to take a stand against ageism while sharing advice and wisdom gained through the lens of years, one conversation at a time. As Ron Schlegel said, the greatest untapped resource in Canada, if not the world, is the collective wisdom of our elders.
Thank you, Kathy. Now, this is a very special episode for a few reasons. First, we're here in Niagara Falls at a Schlegel Village conference, and the theme is People, Care, and Quality. And this is the first time we are recording an episode with 500 or so more people who are watching. And we're glad you're all here. Welcome to all of our Schlegel Village team members, team leaders, residents, and guests. The second bit of news is that Elder Wisdom has just reached a milestone of 100,000 downloads. And that's thanks in part to a lot of you. I've heard a lot of you mentioning that you do listen to our podcasts, and we're very thankful for that.
We are diving into what makes exceptional care, how people and relationships make an impact, and what people and care do for the quality of long-term care and retirement living at Schlegel Villages. Our very special guests, who are all waiting backstage, are here to share their insights and experiences. But before we bring in our first guest, of course, Evelyn has experience as a resident of the Village of Erin Meadows in Mississauga, where you and your husband David live. And I've had the pleasure of visiting them there. It's fabulous. What is your experience with the people, care, and quality at Erin Meadows?
Well, Kathy, I find that the conference theme, People, Care, and Quality, is certainly very relatable to my experience. Having visited a number of retirement homes before we moved into Erin Meadows, we found that the majority of them had a very lovely decorated main floor, but there were no people. Whenever I'm in Erin Meadows, whether walking through the main street or in the elevator, I'm always greeted with a smile and often by name from many of the residents and the staff. People are everywhere, and they're enjoying the variety of programs and activities that are available. It doesn't take long for a new resident to make friends and become a part of the Erin Meadows community. People are what makes Erin Meadows a very good place to live and to call home. And I'm sure that's the same in many of the other Schlegel villages. Also remarkable, especially in these days, and as I've talked to several of you here, that many of the Erin Meadows staff have worked for Schlegel for 10, 15, and 25 years. They and the PSWs we've come to know are caregivers who love their job and love the people they care for. They're always cheerful, smiling, patient, compassionate, and helpful to all in their care, especially or even though some of them can be very difficult. My husband David first moved into Erin Meadows when it was opened. After a series of falls and hospitalization for over 3 months, currently he's moved into Egerton because his health has improved. Surprisingly, in the past year, he's also regained his interest and ability to read newspapers and books once again, and even is thinking now of trying to start a book club. Our family feels that much of that improvement is due to the staff's interest and help working with us as a family and following the medical advice that we've received. We feel that all the staff at Egerton and Emma and throughout the building are exceptional. They have made every effort to know the person they take care of, who they are, what they like, and what they dislike. Many of them have worked in those areas for years. That has been important as well, especially for anyone suffering with dementia. It provides familiarity, consistency, and a routine that they find comfortable. It's also reassuring to all the family members. Most importantly, it improves the quality of care that is given and received. That's why I feel the introduction of Living My Today, the program at the Schlegel Villages, is going to be a very beneficial addition to the care given to anyone living with dementia. It's something that is very important to all of those people and to their family members. It's a difficult disease to care for. And I want to thank all of you, team members, team leaders, who are here today and those who are not. Thank you for your care and your concern and love for the people you take care of.
Thanks so much for that, Evelyn. I always learn something when I talk to you as well. We've shared grandparenting tips. Evelyn's an expert on it, and we've shared a lot of personal stories, and I learn more about you and David every time. It's lovely to hear those stories.
Thank you.
And we're going to carry on with some great stories by introducing our first guest, Ann Baxter. And Ann is a resident in Egerton neighborhood at the Village of Wentworth Heights in Hamilton. Please welcome Ann Baxter to the Green Bench. That was great, Evelyn.
Yep. Good.
Welcome, Ann. Thanks for being with us on the Green Bench today.
Thank you for having me.
Ann, I'm told that you have some strong opinions about care. Let's start with some of your thoughts about what makes exceptional care. What are the little things that you find that can be done to help and make a big impact?
The first thing I think when I was thinking about this, number one, gentleness. Even when you're in a terrible rush, just finding those extra couple of seconds that are going to help whoever it is. Compassion, of course. Humor helps. I found.
That's true.
And one thing that really struck me, talking to a couple of the helpers where I live, each one individually said they considered their time, they didn't say job, they said their time there as a vocation. Now that really rang home with me. And another carer there recently come to the place. She was talking with me. Actually, she was giving me a shower at the time, so it was rather intimate. And she used that exact expression. And I thought, that's absolutely beautiful. It isn't a job or a task, just, but it is a vocation. And not all vocations seem to pay as much as they should.
Yes. So, I don't think there's ever enough money to repay what they give us.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And Anne, while there is always room for improvement on everything, what do you appreciate in terms on how the Schlegel team members provide care? Can you tell us about some of the things they do that they perhaps aren't done in other villages?
Well, some of the things they do now, I'm there and I'm not in need of extensive care, but they help me with my meds. And I live on the second floor, called Egerton in Hamilton. A remarkable team, absolutely fabulous, love them to pieces. Wonderful sense of humour, and they do this wonderful thing. A particular day might be picked out each month or every couple of months for dressing in a particular way. And these ladies on that floor, I mean, the one not that long ago was Pirate Day. And they came in and they had the bandanas and the hats and the eye patch and sometimes the accent to go with it, you know, sort of thing, and high boots. And they looked absolutely wonderful. And we, the members of the floor, were invited to do the same. But we have some very good-looking ladies on that floor, both being cared for and nursing us. We couldn't match them. They were absolutely marvellous, and laughing and teasing with us, and different things like that, and doing special little surprise things, like suddenly there are more cookies on the side, which one of them had brought in, bought, because you can't obviously be doing the free ones. Well, hygiene, yes. And they just do all these wonderful, wonderful things, decorations around. They're terrific. I keep telling them I think I'm going to adopt them. I'm single and have been all my life, so I have no one to spoil, and I have no one to spoil me. I'm enjoying that right now.
So nice.
You know, that's very true, because whatever the staff does, their nature, their humor, what they're feeling really sets the tone for the day among all the staff and the residents, and that's so important, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
What would you like to impress on new PSWs or other team members who are just new to the village about their role regarding care?
I think maybe I might have answered that a little bit to the fore. It's a vocation, love it,
Yes.
do the best you can. And also to respect. Now, those of us who live there, we're old. We've done a lot, we've seen a lot, and we're most fortunate to be experienced in all sorts of things. So for the younger people, and everyone, let's face it, is younger than us, respect the wisdom of the aged.
That's true. So true.
And learn from them.
Yes, so right. That is so very important, and I hope they all remember that, because it is important to each and every resident that's there. Yeah.
And before we wrap up with Ann, I wanted to quickly get into an idea you had for the podcast, actually. You'd like to see Schlegel Villages organize stories from the Green Bench listening parties, I understand. Could you tell us why you believe this would be a great benefit to residents?
Well, when I was first approached about doing this, I didn't know anything about all this stuff. It's all very new. I've never spoken to such a big audience. I'm an old teacher, so I'm used to speaking to a group, but not this. Imagine trying to write reports. The idea of podcasts, and I gather there are something like 44 already in the can.
60-something, I think, actually. Yeah.
There you are, you see?
Yep.
Caught up with me. Then what happens? If we want to go on learning, and you know, we're asked always to go on learning, why not take one of these, or a number of them, and have a discussion group among the members, among the residents, because not everyone is au fait with the technology and everything. But if there was a meeting downstairs of 5, 6, 7 or 8, whatever, in the library, in the hobby shop, on Main Street, and this podcast of 4 minutes, 10 minutes, however long it might be, is shown to everybody, all those extra heads would say, yes, but perhaps you could do so-and-so. And so the idea, instead of ideas coming from a group such as this, is coming again from the residents with their wisdom and experience. Just a little example of something that happened where I'm from. There was a meeting on the homelessness about 4 weeks ago. As a result of that, a group of residents, and it then grew to be volunteers of 19, set up places for donations to be made financially and equipment for new homes for single mothers. Loads of stuff came in, collected thousands, literally, in 19 days, and it was the residents who ran it from their experience. But we couldn't have done it because we had to be on duty to say thank you very much and all that sort of thing. We wouldn't have been able to do that without members of the workers there coming down and helping to remove things at the end of the day and set up the tables again next day. So a wonderful example of both working together, but kicked off by some rather forward-thinking residents. And I thought that was wonderful. And to do that, plus once a month, once every couple of months, to run this or one of the other podcasts that was dealing with a particular issue. Like, for example, I've just thought of this just now, the whole thing about the countryside, the green belt around Hamilton,
Yes.
etc., etc. So it's a topic about which I'm sure we all have loads of opinions, and let's talk about it all together.
Thank you so much, because the podcast is all about community and sharing, and so you're a perfect example of that. A perfect example. And we so appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us today, and thank you so much. And I'm going to ask now Ted to escort you off, and we are going to meet our next guest, Tam and Barb. We'll hear more about them in a second. There they are. We have the easy job. We just get to sit here and watch people come in. It's nice.
Yes.
So I'd like to introduce Tam in the green jacket and Barb sitting next to her. Our next guests who have a lot to say about connecting with people and how people can make anywhere feel like home. Our next guests became fast friends when a conference in Pittsburg brought them together. So please welcome from the Schlegel Support Office, Tam White, and from the Village of Riverside Glen in Guelph, Barb Merkley.
Yes.
So, of course, we're all about the story, so we need to know the story of Pittsburg. So please tell us how your paths crossed and how you became fast friends. Tam, why don't you start?
Thanks. Well, every year, some of you in this room know that we send a group of Schlegel ambassadors to a conference. It was formerly called the Pioneer Network, but the Pioneer Network and the Greenhouse Project sort of became partners, and we had the Center for Innovation Conference going to Pittsburgh this year. So we had 23 Schlegel ambassadors, and we had put it out to some of the general managers that we would like to take a resident, and lo and behold, that is how I met Barb from Riverside Glen. They submitted her name. Literally, Bryce, the GM there, said, I think I have someone in mind, and then he called me 45 minutes later, and that's how I first met Barb on the phone. Barb and I then met in person a few days later, and what I thought might be a 1-hour meeting, I think I came out of Barb's room like 2.5, 3 hours later. I knew her life story, she knew my life story, and I know there's many people that went to that conference that are actually in this room, and we all kind of felt that the same way with Barb. She just puts you at ease. Literally, I was just like, I just told her everything. She knows about my kids. She knows about my family. She knows what I like to eat. She knows I have a trailer. So I loved her cat. I probably could have stayed. I almost became a resident at Riverside Glen. So that's how Barb and I became friends.
Hey. Barb, let's circle back a little bit to the time before you both met. I want to go back to the first time that you came to Riverside Glen for a short stay after you were convalescing from surgery. From arriving, can you share with us what you felt and noticed from that first time that you came to Riverside Glen and you entered the building?
I felt at home. Everybody made me feel welcome. They went about showing me things that I needed to know for my stay, as I was only 4 weeks there, but it was wonderful 4 weeks because I got great care. I was therapy-wise, everything. Staff was awesome with me. Dietary was really good. It made it home. I didn't get involved in a lot because I knew I wasn't staying, but I met a lot of wonderful residents that I became friends with. That was in February, and then in June I was back again for another 4 weeks, so the friendship got stronger. And then that fall I fell and I broke my arm. Guess where I went? Back to Riverside. I was there about 3 weeks, and one of the marketing girls said, why don't you stay for the winter? Because I lived up north, and my husband had passed, so I was on my own. That was Friday she said that. Monday I went to the office and asked if I could stay, and I'm in my 8th year now.
Wow,
Amazing.
wonderful.
Amazing.
I found that too, and especially after Dave got there, that I felt I had to move in as well, just to be close by and enjoy all of the things they had to offer. You can get involved in, right?
Mm-hmm. My daughter lives at Guelph, my son lives in Waterloo, so it was better for me too.
Sure.
I was close to family.
Great, great.
So I think it's safe to say it sounds like you thrive in village life, Barb. You just don't live there, but you get so much out of the village as well. You may not know this, but the podcast has listened to a lot of people who are not actually Schlegel Village residents. They're just wannabes at this point. So, Barb, what would you say to someone who may be apprehensive about becoming a resident at Schlegel Village?
Not to be. They're
Yeah.
welcoming. They're
Yeah.
welcoming. After moving in permanently, just to put yourself out. get to know the recreation staff, get to know the staff, and they reciprocate back so wonderfully. I gradually got involved in things, and then now I'm so busy I'm hardly in my room.
We're glad you got you here. Yeah, all the activities, exactly. It's wonderful.
It's never boring.
No.
right?
Have a good time.
Tam, what do you think team members and leadership can do to help build relationships with residents?
I think we've summarized that a lot at a lot of these conferences, but really recognizing the unique individuality of the people that live there. I mean, there's people like Barb who, you know, love to put themselves out there. They're comfortable with that. You know, Barb likes to take care of people. She helps with the birds and the shop and whatnot. But there's also some residents that really just like to have that one-on-one conversation, maybe just set them up in a nook of the village somewhere with a newspaper and a coffee and whatnot. So I think just building that trust with them and you know, picking away at building that relationship, that just, I think that solidifies. Just it all boils down to relationships, right? So we just,
Yes.
I think everyone in this room's committed to that. That's why we work for this organization. So if you're a people person and you enjoy seniors the way that I have for my entire career, it doesn't feel like you're going to work often. You're just talking with people and getting to know them. So
It's the best feeling you can have, right? With going to work, especially, right?
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
the sense of community that I felt last night at the dinner amongst all the team members, it's quite something. It's very impressive.
it's pretty remarkable. And when you actually, if you collectively polled everybody in this room, like sure, there's a lot of new leaders in the room, and you know, we're so glad to have them. But there's a lot of people that have worked for this organization for a long time. And again, I think we all stick with it because we have the same beliefs and our, you know, like we're aligned with our mission, vision, and values. And again, it doesn't feel like work when you have those relationships that you can kind of lean into when times are hard. Like, you know, we're on the other end of the big C word, and you know, we've lived to tell about it. And I actually think that many of the relationships with each other, but more importantly with our residents, are actually quite stronger as a result of it.
Is there any activity in particular that really got you involved with the village when you first moved in? And what are some of your favorites?
Everything. Attracted.
There we go.
Everything.
Everything.
I'm a people person. I like being with people, and I just sort of integrated myself into things and got involved in things, and just
Amazing.
gradually, as I say, 8 years.
8 years, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think Barb's not giving herself enough credit either. You do the general store and the birds and whatnot, like just even the general store, she's got a good pulse. That is one of the senses that I got from Barb meeting her. She has a good sense of the pulse of village life, and she's very humble, and she's not going to give herself the credit. But yes, that's a big part of it as well.
I love people.
Love it. Clearly. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. We really appreciate you, Tam and Barb. Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask Ted to escort
you.
off
Thank you,
and
Barb.
bring our next guest on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice meeting you.
You too. Bye, Tam.
How long have you been at Erin Meadows?
Well, Dave's been there since it opened, which was in 2018,
Okay.
and I came about 8 months later and have been there ever since. And we both feel, and our families feel, that this was the best move we've ever made, and it's other than their second, I should say, best move, is the first was coming to Canada and becoming Canadian citizens. So
You're originally from
those two
Detroit.
things were important in
Yeah.
our lives and really have given us an awful lot of love and beauty and just a good way of life.
Well, we're glad you came to Canada from Detroit. We're glad you're here. And we're also glad that our next guest is here. I'd like to introduce Royal Hamill. So our final guest, Royal, is a guest. It lives at the Village of Winston Park in Kitchener. He has a lot to say, apparently, about the exceptional care and what it means to him on a personal level. Please help me give a warm welcome to Royal Hamill. So, Royal, not very long ago and very suddenly, your life changed dramatically. Seemingly in the blink of an eye, your mobility was lost and you became paralyzed from the chest down. I can only imagine that you require an elevated level of care to meet your needs. Can you tell us a little bit about the quality of care you receive every day at the Village and what makes that care exceptional?
First of all, I'd just like to say that I feel very honored to be here with you today. It's a special kind of an opportunity, and I thank the people who have invited me to be here. It's very true that my life changed in a dramatic moment. From 1 minute, I went from a very, very healthy 73-year-old who played table tennis 4 times a week and rode my bicycle to a man who is paralyzed from his chest down. So in point of fact, I'm a person who, for the past 20 months, has needed a lot of care in a lot of different ways. As you can well imagine, I've been through 5 different hospitals and 2 different rehab centers, and they haven't fixed the Humpty Dumpty who fell off the wall. They really haven't. But on the other hand, God knows, and I'm okay. But the fact of the matter is that when I first arrived at Winston Village, I was a little nervous, I must confess, as to what the care would be like. I had been living with my wife for some 8 months, and we were burning her out because she simply couldn't care for me as I needed to be cared for. And so when the opportunity came up, we said yes to Winston Park. And we went, and I have to tell you that something remarkable happened there. And it happened kind of right at the beginning. I remember being there a few weeks, and there was one of the girls, the PSWs, a young PSW, probably not long out of school, was helping a person, and she went over to this person, and I watched very closely what's happening. She went over to this person, and she put her arm around the shoulder of the individual and was talking with him and laughing with him. And right after that, she went to another person. I forget exactly what she did in that case, but again, there was physical touch. There was obvious compassion in how this PSW reached out to this person, and I marveled at it. As soon as she finished what she did, I went to find her. In my power wheelchair, I can do that. So I went to find her. Yeah, I can hunt you down. And so I met this young girl, and I said, listen, I said, if you want to be a great PSW, I can tell you how to do it. So I told her. I said to her, what did you just do with that person over there? What did you just do with that person over there? And I told her what she did. And all the while she was listening to me improve her skills, do you know where her arm was? Totally draped around my shoulder. Why? Because she is a person of compassion. She is a person who not only gives effective care, she gives affective care, and she reaches out with compassion just in a natural way. If I hadn't pointed out those things to her, I'm not sure she would. Well, she didn't. She teared up. She was crying. I do consider it a part of my responsibility to help train PSWs along the line.
Makes sense.
Oh yes, it's important, and because they're younger than us guys, and we can contribute to them. Maybe I should throw it back to you for another question. I could just.
You're doing well. You can just keep going. I think we'd be happy to sit and listen to you for a while.
Yes, you also told our producer that it's not just the team members who care for you, but they also care about you. Can you try to express, and I think you have in some case, what that means to you as an emotional or psychological effect?
Well, you know, after having been through the system of hospitals and rehab centers, I think I can tell you what a huge difference it means when care comes to me, and it's effective care, okay, it's competent care, but it's also cold care. It's not care that's kind of interested in me as a person, and like I can tell the difference, and I can tell you that every single resident in every one of the homes can tell the difference. For me, when I receive the care that I've been talking about, it can make the difference between a good day and a bad day. It's such a powerful incentive in my life. Now, maybe I'm a different kind of an individual. I don't know. But I'm guessing I'm not. I'm guessing I'm like most people. And that compassion, care with compassion, is a huge thing as opposed to like simply effective care. We need, and us residents, I believe, I think it just does something to us psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. It does something to us to receive that kind of care. And I thank Winston.
Absolutely.
I want to give you another example that so intrigued me. As I was reflecting on speaking to you all here this morning, I decided that I would do a little test on one of my PSWs. Well, they didn't mind, because I didn't really tell them I was testing him. But this delightful person, and trust me, really delightful. I had been put to bed because I need help getting to bed, trust me. And anyhow, I was there, and she said she was going to bring me a hot tea later on. And lo and behold, she did. And with compassion and kindness. And I was teasing her a little bit. I said to her, listen, I said, you know, you're good. Oh, by the way, one of the things I do all the time is I tell the nurses and the PSWs, I tell them, if they're good, I tell them you're good. You do very well at what you do. Anyhow, she was helping me drink this tea, and I said, okay, thank you so much for this, I said, and I really appreciate it. I said, but you know what? I said, I think you like me. Shocked her a little, but only a little, because she and I laugh together all the time. And she said, of course I do, 1,000 times over. Yeah, yes, she did.
Amazing.
A special lady. Where are we at?
Where are we at? Well, it's a good question. Now you're officially, I believe, in charge of training PSWs. This is part of your responsibilities now. Maybe you have some advice to offer people who are looking to enter the field of senior care when it comes to providing care. Maybe you can provide our listeners with some information on that.
Well, you know, the one piece of advice I would give, particularly to administrators and people who make decisions about hiring, I think when people are hiring a person, they should deliberately and specifically look not just to the competency issue. Is this person going to be an effective deliverer of service to our residents? But does this person have a compassionate side to them? Now, I admit that is hard to measure. It's hard to quantify. It's hard to evaluate. Nevertheless, it is so important. It should not be overlooked. You know, in this whole area of affective care, compassionate care, as well as effective care, I had a brother once who used to tell me all the time that in the kingdom of the blind, the man with one eye is king. And I think that in the kingdom of nurses and PSWs, we need to have an effective, competent person, but we also need to have that other type of person in the same person who is compassionate, and then those people will certainly be kings and queens in the whole business of providing care to people like me.
Awesome.
Royal, so much of what you have said here today has hit home to me, and I know to many of the residents at all of the Schlegel Villages. It is important. Compassion is so important to every single person. And I think, too, that all of us require that kind of personal care, that personal note that makes our days a better and happier one. And we try to exchange that same feeling with them.
I do let my caregivers know day after day that when they serve me well, I praise them. I go out of my way to let them know, good job, you did well. And you know, it builds them up. I can see it build them up. And to praise them openly. No, sometimes it's hard to give praise, but you know what? We should be a people who are constantly looking around for opportunities to give praise and affirmation to people who are doing a good job. And when we do, it makes a difference in their lives.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and everyone's life.
And
really.
everyone's life.
It's important for the PSWs and the staff to tell a little about themselves to the people that they're caring for, because that helps to build a good relationship.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. The more that the resident is able to get to know the PSW and share in their life, it's not just a one-way street.
No.
It's a two-way street,
That's right.
absolutely. Well, compassion always is, isn't it? It's always a two-way street.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing today, Royal. Anyone who wants to sign up for his training program, see Royal after the podcast. Thank you so much for everything you shared today.
Royal, you've been a delight. I'm so pleased to have met you.
And before we
And
wrap
please.
this up entirely, we're going to ask for our guests to come out. Royal, you stay put, and our other guests, I'm going to ask Ann and Barb and Tam to come out and join us so they can enjoy another round of applause for their contribution today. Here we go. Thanks, folks. takes a lot to come up on the stage in front of 500 people and share these very personal stories, and we're extremely grateful. I always learn a lot during the podcast. I think you do as well, Evelyn.
Yes.
And what I've learned I was here last night at the dinner and then today, is that while the villages of Schlegel Villages are beautiful buildings, I understand the food is quite good, and the activities are exceptional. It's clear that what makes it a special place is the people and the connections that everyone has between the PSWs and the residents. And I'm so happy to be able to experience that. What have you learned over the last couple of days, Evelyn?
Well, the most important thing, I think, is that people care and quality are not just integral to the villages, but are also represented on this stage and in the green bench that we all have in our buildings, and try to use that much more. It's always good to communicate and talk with other people and learn something new every single day. Thank you all for coming and being here with us and sharing the green bench today.
So please share your thoughts on social media about the podcast that you heard today. It is #ElderWisdom. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere you look for it. And #ElderWisdom to help everyone find us on the Green Bench. Take a moment to rate and review the Elder Wisdom podcast. Go to www.elderwisdom.ca for more episodes. And while you're there, make sure to take the Elder Wisdom Pledge Against Ageism. So on behalf of my co-host Evelyn Brindle, I'm Kathy Buckworth. Thanks for listening. And remember, your seat on the Green Bench is ready and waiting. Bye for now. Thanks.